Hello students, I am Dr. Ashu Mittal. I am working as a professor of pharmaceutics with Kite School of Pharmacy, Ghaziabad. Today I am going to discuss the pharmacokinetic basic considerations of oral and sustained controlled drug delivery system. With the part of this, we are going to cover introduction to controlled drug delivery systems, design of controlled drug delivery systems, the biopharmaceutics characteristics of the drug, pharmacokinetic characteristics of drug, pharmacokinetic principles in the design and fabrication of controlled drug delivery systems, pharmacokinetics of drug release patterns of controlled delivery dosage forms, and bioavailability testing of controlled release formulations. The optimized drug therapy of any disease is the one which immediately attains the desired therapeutic concentrations of the drug in the systemic circulation and maintains it constant for the complete duration of treatment. This is possible through administration of conventional formulation in a specific dose and at specific dosing frequency. The frequency of drug administration or dosage regimen of any formulation depends upon drug half-life or mean residence time and its therapeutic index. In most cases, frequency of drug administration is much shorter than half-life of the drug, resulting in number of disadvantages associated with such conventional drug product. There are several terms used interchangeably: control release, program release, sustained release, prolonged release, time release, slow release, extended release, and other such dosage forms. However, control release will imply as defined earlier. It differs from sustained release system, which simply prolong the drug release and hence plasma drug level for extended period of time, not necessarily at a predetermined rate. Thus, the chief objective of most prolonged release product should be sustained or controlled delivery to decrease dosing interval to an extent that single dose per day is sufficient for therapeutic outcome through a uniform plasma drug levels at steady state. As discussed previously, in most cases, frequency of drug administration is much shorter than half-life of the drug, resulting in number of disadvantages associated with such a conventional drug product. If the drug has short half-life, it has to be administered frequently, so there are increased chances of missing the dose by the patient. If the drug is not taken at a periodic interval, a typical peak value plasma concentration time profile is obtained, which makes attainment of steady state condition difficult, as shown on the screen in the figure. The unavoidable fluctuations in drug concentration may lead to undermedication or overmedication, as the concentration at steady state values fall or rise beyond the therapeutic range, as shown in the figure on the screen. The fluctuating drug levels may lead to precipitation of adverse effects, especially for a drug with a small therapeutic index, whenever overmedication occurs, as shown in the figure on the screen. There are two ways to overcome such a situation. Number one, alteration of biopharmaceutical and pharmacokinetic characteristics by developing newer, better, and safer drugs with long half-lives and large therapeutic indices. Second, improving performance of existing drug molecules in terms of efficacy and safety aspects through principles and techniques of sustained and controlled drug delivery system. The first approach has many disadvantages, mainly cost of development and high risk of failure in achieving success, which therefore resulted in increased interest in the second approach. An ideal sustained and controlled drug delivery system is the one which releases the drug at specified rate locally or systemically for a predetermined period of time. Thus, unlike conventional immediate release systems, the rate of presentation of drug in the body with such a system is not controlled by absorption process but by rate of delivery. Following appearance of drug in systemic circulation from such a system, there is no control over its disposition. The desired biopharmaceutic properties of a drug to be used in a controlled drug delivery systems are going to be discussed, mainly molecular weight and diffusivity of the drug. Diffusivity is defined as ability of drug to diffuse through biological membrane. Diffusivity depends on size and shape of cavities of the membrane. The lower the molecular weight, the faster and more complete the absorption. A few general rules for oral absorptions are: for drug absorbed by pore transport mechanism, the molecular size threshold is 150 Dalton for spherical compounds and 400 Daltons for linear compounds. The next desired biopharmaceutic property is molecular size. Most of the drugs are absorbed by non-ionic simple passive diffusion. The upper limit of drug molecular size for passive diffusion is 600 Daltons. One of the important biopharmaceutic properties is aqueous solubility of drug. Most of the drugs are weak acid or weak bases. Drug with low water solubility will be difficult to incorporate into sustained release mechanism. A drug must exhibit good aqueous solubility in the entire pH range of gastrointestinal tract for oral absorption. A drug depicting pH independent solubility serves as a good candidate for controlled release dosage form. For example, pentoxifylline. Another biopharmaceutics property is apparent partition coefficient of the drug. A major criteria in evaluation of the ability of drug to penetrate these lipid membrane is in its apparent oil or water partition coefficient. In general, greater the apparent partition coefficient of a drug, greater is its rate and extent of absorption. Such drugs have increased tendency to cross even the more selective barriers like CSF and blood-brain barrier. The apparent volume of distribution of such drug also increases due to increased partitioning into fatty tissues. And since the blood flow rate to such tissue is always lower than to an aqueous tissues like liver, they may exhibit characteristics of two-compartment pharmacokinetic model. Drug pKa and ionization is also important biopharmaceutics property. The pKa range for acidic drugs whose ionization is pH sensitive is 3 to 7.5. That for basic drug is 7 to 11. For optimum passive absorption, the drug should be non-ionized at that site at least to an extent 0.1 to 5%. Drugs existing predominantly in ionized fraction are poor candidates for sustained and controlled dosage forms. For example, hexamethonium. Drug stability is also important property. Drug undergo both acidic and base hydrolysis, enzymatic degradation when administered oral route. Drugs that are unstable in gastric pH undergo gut wall metabolism and show instability in small intestine, and they are not suitable for sustained release systems. Mechanism and site of absorption. Drug absorbed by carrier mediated transport process and those absorbed through window are poor candidate for control release systems. For example, several vitamin B. Now, biopharmaceutic expect for route of administration. For oral route, for a drug to be successful as oral control release formulation, it must get absorbed through the entire length of GIT. Since the main limitation of this route is the transit time, a mean of 14 hours, the duration of action can be extended for 12 to 24 hours. Now we are going to discuss various pharmacokinetic parameters which are very important for development of control release formulations. One of the pharmacokinetic parameters is elimination half-life. Smaller the T-half, larger the amount of drug to be incorporated in the control release dosage form. For drugs with T-half less than 2 hours, a very large dose may be required to maintain the high release rate. Drug with half-life in the range of 2 to 4 hours may be good candidate for such system. Example, propranolol. Drug with a long half-life need not be presented in such formulations, example amlodipine. For some drugs, example MAO inhibitors, the duration of action is longer than the predicted by their half-lives. A candidate drug must have T-half that can be correlated with its pharmacological response. In terms of mean residence time, that is MRT, a drug administered as controlled release dosage form should have mean residence time significantly longer than that from conventional dosage forms. Another important pharmacokinetic parameter is absorption rate constant, which is Ka. The constant blood or tissue concentration of drug can be obtained from the oral sustained release system through uniform and consistent release as well as absorption of drug. The desirable quality of sustaining system is that it should release completely absorbed. Apparently, the release of drug from system is rate limiting step, where rapid absorption relative to drug release is always expected. The rate of release should be less than the rate of absorption. If we assume the transit time of dosage form in the absorption area of GI tract is about 8 to 12 hours, the maximum half-life for absorption should be approximately 3 to 4 hours. Otherwise, the dosage form will pass out of absorption region before drug release is complete. Therefore, the compounds with lower absorption rate constants are poor candidates to be fabricated in controlled drug delivery systems. Another pharmacokinetic parameter is rate of metabolism. A drug which extensively metabolizes is not suitable for sustained release drug delivery system. A drug capable of inducing metabolism, inhibiting metabolism, metabolite at the site of absorption or first pass effect is the poor candidate for sustained release delivery, as it could be difficult to maintain constant blood levels. Drugs that are metabolized before absorption, either in the lumen or the tissue of intestine, can show decreased bioavailability from the sustained release systems. Apparent distribution parameter is also a very important parameter which can influence the fabrication of controlled drug delivery systems. The apparent volume of distribution is one of the important parameters of the drugs that describes the magnitude of distribution as well as protein binding within the body. The apparent volume of distribution is proportionality constant of the plasma concentration of drug to the total drug amount in the body. Thus, for the design of sustained release product, one must have information of the disposition of the drug. Now let us discuss the pharmacokinetic principles in the design and fabrication of sustained and controlled drug delivery systems. The sustained release dosage forms are designed to release a drug at a predetermined rate in order to maintain a constant drug concentration for a specific period of time with minimum side effects. The drug release rate should be so monitored that a steady plasma concentration is attained by reducing the ratio Cmax to CSS minimum, while maintaining the drug levels within the therapeutic window. The rate controlling step in the drug input should be determined not by the absorption rate but by the rate of release from the formulation, which ideally should be slower than rate of absorption. Now let us discuss some assumptions necessary for the design and fabrication of controlled drug delivery systems. It should be one compartment open modal kinetics. The ADME profile of drug should follow first order kinetics. Drug release must be longer than conventional forms. Drug should be released at zero order or nearly zero order. Ratio of CSS maximum to CSS minimum, that is drug index, must be 1 or nearly 1. Drug release rate constant should be lower than rate of absorption. The desired rate of drug release from sustained drug delivery system is treated according to constant rate IV infusion. In order to maintain the desired steady state concentration, that is CSS, rate of drug input, which is zero order release rate, R0, must be equal to rate of output, assumed to be first order elimination. The relation can be written as shown on the screen. R0 is equal to CSS Vd into Ke. The rate of drug output is given as product of maintenance dose Dm and first order elimination rate constant. As shown on the screen, R output is equal to Dm into Ke. For a zero order constant rate infusion, the rate of output is also given as shown in equation on the screen. R output is equal to Ke into CSS into Vd. As you know, since Cl is equal to K into Vd, the above equation can also be written as R output is equal to CSS into CLT, or it could be written as R0 is equal to CSS into CLT. The bioavailability of drug from controlled release dosage form cannot be 100%, as total release may not be 100%, and drug may also undergo pre-systemic metabolism, and hence F is the fraction bioavailable. Then equation can be rewritten as shown on the screen. R0 is equal to CSS into CLT divided by F. The rate of output equation can also be written as dm by torque. Substituting above equation in the previous equation, we get a new equation of dm, which can be written as the maintenance dose is equal to CSS into CLT into torque divided by F, where torque is equal to dosing interval. From above equation, one can calculate the dose of drug that must be released in a given period of time in order to achieve the desired target steady state concentration. It also shows the total systemic clearance is an important parameter in such a computation. Since attainment of steady state level with a zero order controlled drug delivery system would require a time period of about 5 biological half-life, an immediate release dose, that is DI, called as loading dose, may be incorporated in such a system in addition to control release component. The total dose, that is DT, needed to maintain therapeutic concentration body would be DT is equal to DI plus DM as shown on the screen. The immediate release dose is meant to be provide the desired steady state rapidly and can be calculated by equation the DI is equal to CSS into Vd by F. Students, now I am going to talk about pharmacokinetics of drug release pattern of sustained and controlled release dosage forms. If we follow assumptions that are made of controlled sustained release dosage form, such as drug elimination follows first order kinetics, the rate limiting step in the absorption is rate of drug release from sustained and controlled release formulation. In this case, the rate of release must be smaller than the rate of absorption. Absorption of liberated drug is rapid and complete. As discussed, if following assumptions are made, the 4 models were proposed for the study of release kinetics of drug administration and elimination from the sustained and controlled release formulation. The model number 1 is slow zero order absorption followed by first order elimination. Model 2 could be slow first order absorption followed by first order elimination. Model 3 is slow zero order release systems with initial rapid release of drug from dosage form. And model 4 is slow first order release with an initial rapid release from dosage form. As shown in the figure on the screen, the model number 1, this model presents a situation that the drug release from sustained release controlled release formulation is stable in fluid at the absorption site, has similar absorption efficiency from all the absorption sites, and is absorbed rapidly and completely after its release, then its rate of appearance in plasma will be governed by its rate of release from control release formulation. Thus, when drug release follows zero order kinetics, absorption will be zero order process or at a constant rate and is being eliminated by first order process. In this case, concentration of drug in plasma at a given time may be written as a equation shown on the screen. C is equal to F into R naught 1 minus E minus KET divided by Ke into Vd, where R naught is equal to zero order release rate constant, F is the fraction of drug reaching plasma, Vd is the volume of distribution. The above equation as shown on the screen mimic the concentration time course of a drug that shows one compartment kinetics following constant rate IV infusion. The time to reach steady state depends upon the elimination half-life of the drug. It is usually not possible with a single oral sustained control release formulation to attain the plateau even with a drug having short half-life such as 3 hours, since the mean GI residence time is around 12 hours. It takes 4.3 half-lives of attainment of 95% steady state values. Thus, if T-half is 3 hours, about 13 hours will be required for drug to reach plateau. Slower the elimination, longer the T-half, more the time required to reach steady state. Once the desired steady state is reached, with repeated dosing of zero order control release formulation, minimal fluctuations will be observed. Zero order release system are thus ideal control delivery formulations. Figure on the screen shows schematic representation of slow first order release characteristics from control release formulations. Such systems are easier to design but are inferior to zero order system, especially when they are meant for oral use. This is because with first order release characteristics, smaller and smaller amount of drug are released as time passes, and secondly, as the formulation advances along the gastrointestinal tract, the absorption efficiency generally decreases due to number of reasons like decreased intestinal surface area, increased viscosity, and decreasing mixing. Thus, larger amounts are needed to be released at later stage when in fact the opposition happens with first order system. The concentration of drug in plasma following administration of control release formulation with slow first order release is given by the equation as shown on the screen. C is equal to dm into Kr into F divided by Vd Kr minus Ke into E minus Ket minus E minus Krt. When Kr is greater than Ke, flip-flop phenomena is observed, which is common feature of such control release formulations. With repeated dosing of slow first order release formulations, one generally observed a lower Cmax, higher Cminim, and lower Tmax comparison to conventional release formulations. Figure shown on the screen is a model 3, which is slow zero order release system with initial rapid release of drug from the dosage form. It is a schematic representation of initial rapid dose and zero order release characteristics from control release dosage formulations. With such formulations, an initial dose is rapidly released, which is burst effect, for immediate first order availability, while the remaining amount is released and absorbed at a slow zero order rate. The equation for concentration time course of such a formulation contains two portions, one each to denote rapid first order release and slow zero order release. The equation as shown on the screen, C is equal to di into Ka into F divided by Vd into Ka minus Ke into Ke minus Krt minus E minus Ket plus Ka into F divided by Ke into Vd into 1 minus Ket. Such a formulation is ideally suited for drugs with long T-half, in which cases attainment of plateau would otherwise take a long time. The slow release component should ideally begin releasing the drug when drug levels from the fast component are peak. However, the approach suffers from a big disadvantage. When the formulation is meant for repetitive dosing, the blood level profile show a peak trough pattern, which normally does not result when all of the drug is released at slow zero order rate. This may cause a momentous rise in peak concentration immediately after each dose, triggering toxic reactions. It is for this reason that such a design is unpopular. The transient fluctuation in the peak concentration with these formulations can however be overcome by decreasing the loading dose in the subsequent dosage forms, which appears to be impractical, increasing the dosing interval, or administering an immediate release conventional dosage form prior to repetitive dosing of zero order control release formulation instead of incorporating it in the latter. The figure shown on the screen represents model 4. The equation describing the time course of plasma drug concentration with this type of formulation will also contain two portions, one to describe rapid first order absorption, another for slow first order absorption from control release formulation. The equation shown on the screen, as in previous case, to obtain the desired plateau, the slow release component DM should start releasing the drug. When the peak has been attained with rapid release dose, DI, this requires DM greater than DI, which results in wastage of drug since absorption efficiency reduces as time passes and dosage form descends down the GIT. Else, when all of the DI, that is initial dose, has been released, this requires relatively small maintenance dose and therefore less drug wastage and better sustained levels despite fluctuation in drug levels. The problems that result from repeated dosing of this type of formulations are similar to that described for third type of release pattern and can be handled in a similar manner. Let us discuss the importance of bioavailability testing of in vivo bioavailability study on a control release formulation. It is used to determine the fraction of drug absorbed. It should ideally be greater than or equal to 80% of conventional release dosage form. Occurrence of dose dumping, influence of food as well as circadian effect on drug absorption, the time period for which plasma concentrations stay within therapeutic range, therapeutic occupancy time, the ratio of Cmax Cminim at a steady state. Percent fluctuation can also be calculated from the equation as shown on the screen, that is 100 into Cmax minus Cminim divided by CSS, where CSS is concentration steady state. A single dose study is sufficient to assess the first three objectives, but the subsequent one can only be evaluated from a multiple dose study. The reference standard is solution or a suspension of drug or a currently marketed control release formulation. For in vitro bioequivalence testing, the dissolution test should be designed to account for major variables to which control release formulation is exposed in vivo before getting absorbed. For example, pH from 1 to 8, influence of food, fasting state, solubilizing, influence of bile, and pancreatic secretions. When considering oral control release formulation, establishing in vivo correlation for control release delivery is often difficult due to complexity of variables involved. Students, with reference to the session, we can conclude as sustained controlled drug delivery systems are designed to release the drug at a predetermined rate for a prolonged time to obtain therapeutic objectives with minimum side effects and without producing toxicity. The drug release is controlled so as to optimize absorption and controlling the bioavailability. These systems release the drug at zero order kinetics. In this respect, the controlled drug delivery system mimics the constant rate infusion systems. The sustained release or controlled release formulations improve patient compliance and convenience, resulting in reduced healthcare cost. Disadvantages are removal of dosage form from the body is difficult in case of adverse effects or toxicity. Erratic or variable absorption rate might make the plasma concentration unpredictable and dose dumping in case of failures of dosage form. The selection of suitable drug for design of controlled drug delivery system is possible based on physiochemical, physiological, biopharmaceutical, and pharmacokinetic considerations. Among these, drugs having biological half-life between 2 and 4 are very much suitable. Further, intrinsic absorption rate constant of drug must be higher. Drugs following non-ionic diffusions are good candidates. Drugs must have wide therapeutic window to avoid adverse reactions. It is further possible to calculate the dosing rate based on drug pharmacokinetic parameters such as total clearance and apparent volume of distribution. The sustained and controlled drug delivery system is designed to release the drug at zero order. As soon as the drug is released, it should be absorbed. This system is suitable for drugs having low T-half values. For drugs having T-half value, it takes a long time to achieve steady state blood drug concentrations. Such a problem is overcome by administering immediate release dose, also known as loading dose. Normally, achieving zero order release is difficult, while first order drug release is practical. Further, initial rapid release component with first order release can be designed for achieving the steady state plasma drug concentration. In this process, it is possible to achieve sustained release with no significant transient fluctuations. Thank you.